But if you take a little bit of whipped cream, there's not a whole lot to it. And so you take the whipped cream and you eat a spoonful or whatever, and then you go and you start working in the kids' area after the service, and it doesn't do a whole lot. When lunch comes, you're still going to be hungry. The problem with where we're at right now is a lot of us, and this isn't a condemnation necessarily on preaching and the preaching in our generation, although it very well could be, but I think it's more just a thought about where we're at, is that we come into church, and what we really want is for someone to offer us, or we go on our personal Bible study, and we say, man, if I could just get something right now that just makes me feel good real quickly, and if I could just leave with just like a word of encouragement, and it makes me feel a little bit better, then everything's going to be good. And that works for a little bit. But there's not a lot of substance to that. I encounter like just a brief glimpse of who Jesus is. I don't want to dig in and encounter the real Jesus. But if I could just dig in and encounter a little bit of who Jesus is, then everything's going to be okay. Well, people need less fluff and more encountering the authentic Jesus. See, there's two big religious theological words. It's orthodoxy, which is correct teaching. It comes from two different words. It means good teaching. And there's orthopraxy, which means good living. And a lot of us thought, if I just live my life well enough that it's going to affect the way that I think, and we buy into a very narrow view of who Jesus is, or a very hollowed out version of who Jesus is. But our correct teaching, our correct understanding of Jesus, that's what should start to impact the way that we live. When we encounter that authentic Jesus, when we dig in and say, Jesus, I want to know more about you. Jesus, if you're in the Old Testament, I want to encounter that too, because I call myself a follower of Jesus. I want to encounter the real Jesus.